Episode 3 of the Fireside Football Chat. It's the off season, but is there ever an off season for NFL football? I don't think so. I've gone a little bit too long in our conversations with this week's guest, Jeff Dawson from ECSI Sports, because we're used to chatting during the football season and keeping up. So I get to turn the tables on him a little bit and ask him a few questions about his journey. Thanks in advance for everybody who's taken the time away from March Madness to catch up on a little free agency quarterback talk and football talk. Jeff, how are you doing?
As we were talking backstage, I think we've done 3 full seasons of shows on my channel, and we're blessed and honored to be a part working with you. And your knowledge is second to none. As I said on the email chat, you should be getting royalties from the AOL company. But today, I'm on the other side, and there's been so much going on in New England itself. And they got, it's funny, 2 years ago, Ron, they had that win on Christmas Eve in Denver, a walk-off field goal, which slid them down to number 3. So that got them out of the Jaden Daniels sweepstakes, which now they have Drake May. They're happy and content so far with Drake May. Well, this year, the last game of the year win against Buffalo took them from the 1 spot and basically holding Cam Ward takers basically as hostage. And now they slide to the 4th spot, hoping Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, one of those two, slide to them. And as you and I talked, the real move is to trade back. There are so many holes in this team. Maybe move back to a 10 or 11 and take a Banks or someone of that ilk, or a Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State. We'll get into all that, but it's been hard to keep up with all the moves.
Yeah, New England's been one of the busier teams, and we're a month away from the draft. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about you. Let's talk about your journey, how you kind of got interested in the handicapping, how you got to where you are now, which is a very busy guy on the week, especially during the football season. But golf, you mentioned UFC, a variety of different shows. How did you get to this point?
The skinny version, because your wife will kill me. We could be talking for hours here. Basically, I was the kid in high school. I handing out the football cards. I was the kid in high school betting with my history teacher on the weekends. In college, I knew where all the books were back east. I worked for my first 2 services in the late 80s, early 90s in Boston. No internet, no cell phones. You had to use the 900 numbers to get the updates every 10 minutes. I learned the good, the bad, the ugly with these services real early. Some shady people out there. There was only 2 ways to pay us back then: Western Union or MoneyGram. Or the old timers would do the Pony Express with the money in one of the books, and they'd send it, and you hope you got the package with the open up. But I was
You're describing my life.
Yes. So always fascinated by numbers. So my goal from the mid 90s was to figure out Celtics 76ers, under over 230, Celtics favored by 10. And the final score is Boston 120, 76ers 110, 28 3-pointers, 10 missed free throws. How did Vegas come up with the numbers? It just fascinates me. And so that's been my journey. And around 2013, I took a long drive to Delaware to a good friend, successful business owner, with a game plan to launch East Coast Sports Investors. And that's what we did in 2015, January 1st, 3 years before 2018, and PASPA finally passed. We thought it eventually would, and it did. We're 42 states now legalized. The only thing, Ron, I haven't forecast was 2020, and that was COVID. And that was 18 months of coming up with content. Alex Smith, comeback player of the year at 16-1 when he was with Washington. doing NASCAR, doing golf on my own. But now we are here in 2025 in our 10th year, and we couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the middle of that. With the COVID time, the NFL stayed solvent and played all its games, although it used Tuesdays, Wednesdays, all kinds of days to get those games done. But the NCAA, they played fewer games. There were all this injury news and COVID news that they didn't have to disclose. So you were, doing it on the fly. Tennis shut down. A lot of things shut down. It was probably kind of an up and down. Were you kind of feeling that? Were you looking to let's stay with the journey at that point?
I was a season ticket holder for UConn during that time. And so it was halftime of the Friday afternoon game. The Big East game was the first game showing, and they went to the locker room and they never came back. Now, on Tuesday, the NBA had stopped the game, and we were starting to get curious what was going on. Then on that Friday, the NCAA shut it down, and the rest was history. Panicked. What do we do? I wasn't going to get into the ping pong world, the corrupt world of ping pong. So you could do golf, you could do NASCAR, and what really took off, Ron, was the NFL draft. That's when the NFL draft took off in 2020. Everyone's looking for insight. Everyone's trying to hear, hey, do you know anything? And that's when the NFL prop market and the draft really took off. We got through that. Again, I gave out Alex Smith at about 14, 15 to 1 at Caesars, comeback player, just because if he played one or two games for Washington that year, there was no, with the 50 surgeries that he had on that leg, there was no way he wouldn't get that. And he did come back. He did play. He did win that. So you had to get creative, Ron. You just didn't want to throw garbage out there. We have clients all over the world that have been with us now 8, 9, 10 years. So 2020, a lot of them had been with us for 4 and 5 years. So I couldn't just make up stuff. I just basically told everyone to be patient. We would stay in our lanes, stay focused, and keep doing what we're doing. And then slowly but surely, COVID got less and less, and the sports markets picked back up.
Yeah. So one more question along these lines, and it's something I'm going to be asking, starting with you, a number of my guests as we go through this series that I have, and that's the balancing act. You're doing the shows, you're prepping for many different sports. How do you balance the time that you need in order to make these plays, in order to get the information out to your clients and so on, with all the other preparation that you have to do?
Rod, like the stock market, we're strictly a numbers guy, whether it's Spank Odds. It used to be Don Best. It used to be Sports Insights. We'll use Wager Talk and a few other sources during college basketball, Ken Pomeroy. So we're kind of, instead of a stockbroker, we're a sports broker. Our spreadsheets never closed. We get every beep, every alert, every line change, every weather update. Who's scratched. So the juggling act with the shows in the morning, in the afternoon, at night is just keeping updated and up track with the movements of the market. And the hardest part is the Saturdays, 150 college football games, 125 college basketball games. Now in today's market, the DraftKings, the FanDuels, it's not just the game, the spread, the over-under. There's team totals. There's first halves. And never mind the prop markets. There's second half plays. We don't get involved in the end game because you got such a short window to get it out. So it's a lose-lose proposition. If we give an in-game play and it wins, no one had time to get it in, or no one got that number. If it loses, Ron, as you know, everyone had time and everyone got it in. So you got to play. I use the spaghetti strainer. Hey, we got 15 plays on the desk. We keep sifting. We keep looking for the sharpest number. And by game time, we'll post 1 to 3, and then we'll just let the dust settle from there.
Okay. Yeah, so you have a methodology, and I think one of the things with anybody who does a process, whatever handicapping approach you take, and yours may be different from other places, that you have a repeatable process. And it sounds like that's what you're striving for, is that repeatable process. So you're not thrown off guard and you're not doing any impulse betting. You have a process.
And truth be told, in 2017, we went 30-2 in the conference championship and March Madness. And that was through Sports Insights. That's when the numbers were real. So if you had 70% of the money and 70% of the tickets on Duke, and they opened up at 4 against Kentucky, say, yet the line went from 4 to 2.5. That's the reverse line movement. That was the true numbers. So even though the bets and the money are coming in Duke, the spread's gone from 4 to 3.5 to 3 now to 2.5. And I would have the spreadsheet. It would be like I'd hear that, oh, and I would it would be fish in a barrel. I could see it right in front of me. And we had an undefeated week, 11-0. People want more, more, and more. And I'm like, there's nothing here, guys. I'm not just sending something out because it's on TV. But nowadays, Ron, you can't really trust the books and the numbers that they're showing you, because they could be showing you false reads because they want you to take this side. The steam, we know what happens at Friday night at 5 o'clock or any night at 5. You see these red numbers and you see these lines all moving at the same time. It's because people work 9 to 5, 8 to 5. They didn't have time to watch the market all day. They see the steam, they see where the money's going. So therefore they want to jump in and follow the steam. Hey, this is where the money is. And usually 7 out of 10 times, it's just a false move, Ron.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been asked that question a couple of different times. And when somebody tells me 70% of the bets are on this and 60% of the money is on this, I say, thank you, move on. I personally do not trust any of that. And it could be just that you see these sportsbook operators at the major offshores quoting these numbers. Is that his number? Is that the whole number? I don't want any part of it. I want my own handicapping.
I can say this out loud to everyone watching and listening. Back, the originators, the pinnacles of the world, the Chris's of the world, people that you most feel comfortable with. If you want to stay in the States, keep an eye on Circa. Jeffrey Benson does an amazing job at the Circa, and they are the sharpest of sharps. They'll post an Alabama -6, and everyone's got it at 8 or 9. That's their company taking a stance saying whoever Alabama's playing, we like the other side. So we're taking in all Alabama money. Come on board, get a sharper number here. So if you're looking for a local, the Circa, the South Point, and the Superbook in Vegas are 3 of the sharper books as well.
And I like it. And talking to some of the people that used to work there, I think it was Matt Metcalf and so on.
Yep.
They would test some numbers out early. They had a conviction and whatever. When their limits got much higher, if they were forced to, they would change their numbers. But at the beginning, they weren't afraid to do what everybody else in the industry seems to be afraid of now, because it's more of a business thing, not a bookmaker thing. Oh no, we can't take that chance. But they're willing to take that chance. Well, let's transition over to 2025. We've had now 10 days or even more of free agency, and there's been a lot of movement, starting with the quarterbacks. Some of them, I don't know. I mean, you got Sam Darnold changing over, moving where Geno Smith was. Geno Smith as either a Band-Aid or a serious reunion with Pete Carroll. You've got Daniel Jones with a fresh start. You've got Justin Fields with the Jets. I don't know what to make of that. So I will ask you, what do you make of the quarterback carousel so far? Does it mean anything to you?
Hats off to Seattle. I like that move. I'm not a big Geno guy. I never was. He did have a rebirth. He had weapons. He got him to the playoffs. I like the Sam Darnold move. Now, Sam comes to Seattle and he's like, okay, where's DK? Oh, where's Tyler Lockett? They have in Jigba, who's one of the better young wide receivers here. They got a good Kenneth Walker in the backfield. But from there, what are they going to do? Who are they going to draft? So I like the quarterback move for Seattle. Now, Tom Brady and the Raiders, I don't really know what they're thinking. My thought, Ron, is they bring Geno in as a Band-Aid and maybe move up and try to get a Shedeur Sanders. Maybe that's the move that Tom Brady and them are looking for there. Justin Fields to the Jets, maybe lightning in a bottle. He's got Garrett Wilson. He's got Breece Hall. He's got Allen in the backfield, a good defense. So that one is a wild card there. Aaron Rodgers holding the Steelers and the Giants hostage. He was there Friday for 6 hours. Rumor has it that he's going to be a Steeler. They brought in DK, and I'll get to the Patriots in a move that I think will happen here. But so Aaron Rodgers is that last piece. Expect him to be a Steeler. He wants to go to the Vikings. He's not going to go to the Vikings. They're going to test their new shiny toy with JJ McCarthy there. But nothing's blowing me away other than I think the Sam Darnold to Seattle was a good move.
Yeah, nothing's blown me away at all. Just because Dan Jones went to Indy doesn't mean Indy still has a quarterback. I mean, they drafted a guy fourth. The GM's, staked his reputation on that. So that's a tough one. Pittsburgh's an interesting one to me because, man, Aaron Rodgers brings a lot of baggage to the table. But when we've talked about this in the past, when teams are stuck in draft picks 12 to 20 or something, they can't get necessarily that marquee quarterback. They're kind of in limbo land like Denver was for a little while. They had to move fast on Bo Nix at 12, which was maybe a reach, maybe not because of Sean Payton. If Aaron Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh, what are your expectations for the Steelers?
Well, first and foremost, you're spot on. Let's throw a plug to our buddy Russell Saylor. Now, maybe this Daniel Jones to Indy will finally light a fire under Anthony Richardson. I don't know there. But back to Pittsburgh, I wouldn't have let him in. I want no part of the baggage. I want nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. Let him be a Giant. With that said, here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm expecting. The Steelers were trying to move George Pickens last year. I cannot see in any locker room DK Metcalf and George Pickens working. So I expect Pickens to move, and I think via trade, and I'm going to say it right here because the Patriots are not getting A.J. Brown. They're not getting Ayuk. I would not be shocked that George Pickens ends up being a Patriot. Rodgers comes in. They move Pickens to New England. I don't know what they get with him. I think it's a bad move. If I'm the Steelers, Russell knows the system. He didn't play that bad last year. I would go one more year with Russell Wilson, and I would let someone else deal with the diva and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and the Russell Wilson part is interesting because if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, they're not going to get anybody better than Russell Wilson, who's been in the system, like you said. So I agree. And that marriage with Metcalf and, they have, if they kept Pickens and Metcalf, those are the two most penalized receivers in the NFL by far. And that's not necessarily what Mike Tomlin wants to do. So I think it's fascinating in Pittsburgh. And I want to throw one more name at you. If you're Atlanta's GM, or what do you do with Kirk Cousins? Do you keep him? It's not a high salary. They understand that. Penix didn't cost much because he's a rookie contract. And these days, paying Cousins $27.5 million is not much either. What do you do with Kirk Cousins? Do you think he stays with Atlanta?
Well, that price tag is what Tom Brady was trying to get the last couple of years. That's why he was $25 million, and he was looking for a 2-year guaranteed $50 million, and they wouldn't pay it for him. So if you got blown away and you could trade Kirk Cousins, to a team and recoup and just hand the keys over to Penix, I think that would be the play here. I think the problem is if you keep him, you already pulled the plug on him last year. So he's going to come to camp, and what is there going to be a competition in camp? And
No.
if so, it's Penix, and if he wants to hold the clipboard for 25 million or 27, whatever the number is, and if Penix gets hurt, then they wheel him back in. At least they still have a chance to fight for the division and a playoff spot. But I think the play is to try to trade him to a once Rodgers lands. Let's say Rodgers ends in Pittsburgh. Who's left? The Giants, correct?
Yes.
So now the Giants can say, okay, well, we're going to get Russell Wilson on a discount here. What is he going to provide for us? I'd be on the phone and I would see what Atlanta wants for Cousins. I think for the fan base, it's an easier sell with Cousins than it is for Wilson, who's gone now from Seattle to Denver to Pittsburgh, now to New York.
I wouldn't want to see Russell Wilson behind the New York Giant offensive line. That's probably the way I would go. Cousins would be the deal there. 3 transactions caught my eye. I want to get your opinions on them. Laramie Tunsil, he went to Washington from Houston. Now Houston obviously needs offensive linemen. They've lost a couple, but Washington is protecting their investment of Jalen Daniels, but they did pay a steep price. What's your opinion on what Houston did, getting some trade value back, but losing their left tackle to Washington?
I said all year in August, September, I expected regression from Houston and CJ Stroud. He made it look way too easy. Mm-hmm. They brought in Diggs, they brought in Mixon, but everyone was getting injured, yada, yada, yada. Season's over. And now that there goes Tunsil. Diggs is a free agent. So the fire's still going on. They did pick up someone late last week. Am I correct, Ron? Or early this week? For Tunsil. They might have
Cam Robinson, I believe. Houston it's hard to keep track of Houston. Let me tell you that. They've got 20 moves again. So I believe it was Cam Robinson. Check that out while you're talking.
So I guess I applaud Washington. They're all in. They picked up Deebo Samuel. Here comes Tunsil. They're protecting Jaden Daniels. Now, I love Jaden Daniels. I loved what he did, but I'll go on record right now on March 24th. I'm expecting regression from Jaden Daniels, not to the RG3 that RG3 did after his rookie year in Washington in his second year. But like CJ Stroud, they got a full year of tape. You got the Eagles right there, Super Bowl champs. Dallas will re-sign Mr. Parsons. Their defense will be a little healthier. Then, of course, we got the Giants. So Washington's all in, and we know what happens when teams push and go all in. It usually doesn't end well. I would like to be a fly in the wall in Houston because, as you said, there are so many moving parts. I didn't understand last year's with the Diggs move, with the Mixon move. Yeah. Their wide receiver there out for the year. Brain fart here, Ron, on you. They're number 2 there. He's going to be gone for the year. So they have some tough moves still to come. They got the number 1, of course, all set and healthy. Why am I drawing a blank on the number 2? He was hurt last year, ACL. Tank Dell. He's going to be done for the year. So there's some holes there to be plugged and filled in. So it's going to be interesting, obviously, the draft. And there's still some free agents out there, so you're going to get them on the discount. And then we know there's moves in the summer as well. So it'll be interesting, Ron.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Diggs move. Very confusing because they were building and then they were getting a guy and they voided 3 years of his 4-year deal, which was why he's back on the market. That one I think they wish they had over. Sticking with Washington, Deebo Samuel goes to Washington as well. We know he's had some health issues and so on, but another chess piece for Daniels there too. So like you said, Washington's going all in, but I kind of like that move.
I do too. You're not going to get the Debo from 3-4 years ago. Shannon basically ran him into the ground. They tried to move him on draft day last year, and the Patriots were trying to get in, of course, on the younger model there, and they ended up paying him a boatload, which, quote unquote, he's owed a big signing bonus, I think, on April 1st. Ayuk is so that's why the name is still floating around. If they listen, there's a fire sale in 49er land. So if they want to get out of that contract, they're picking 11th, Ron. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots were called and say, hey, what do you want to do for Ayuk? I assume 49ers would say, hey, well, we want the number 4 pick. You can take the 11 pick, and then you can take the contract with Ayuk there. But as for Washington, I like the move. You're going to get a receiver that can run routes. He can't get open like he used to. I expect him to run the ball a lot too. I think it's a great piece for Kingsbury to add to this constantly moving offense, which Jaden Daniels, listen, if Jaden Daniels is Jaden Daniels of last year, they're going to be fighting with the Eagles till tooth and nail to the end to see who wins that division.
Yeah. One more comment on Washington. They still need to work on the defense. That's the part that let them down in the playoffs. Just too many yards per carry, which opened up the offense for the better quarterbacks, the playoff quarterbacks in the NFL. But I applaud Washington for everything the new regime has done has really changed the culture like I coined last year. So happy for Washington to be relevant again in terms of that. I think we touched on DK Metcalf already, so I want to move on to teams that are near and dear to you, starting with Philadelphia. So when last we talked, we both were kind of thinking that if not for Mahomes, this is almost a slam dunk with Philadelphia. I mean, I really liked Philadelphia, and I just made my play a little bit smaller because I, like everybody else, saw that Mahomes was on the other side. Well, what if he does this and that? But it became evident. When did it become evident to you that in the Super Bowl that, Philadelphia is going to win this game?
First quarter, just like when Kansas City played Tampa, you could see the front on the Tampa loss. Mahomes, bad ankle, no left tackle, no right tackle. You could tell right away in the first quarter that there was no way that Kansas City could compete against Tampa. You could tell right away in Philadelphia, the pressure that they were putting on them, a missed opportunity to match Philadelphia's early score. You could tell right away it was going to be a tough pill to swallow. But at halftime, you had hope because Kansas City had the ball right before the end of the half, and they got the ball to start the second half. So you were hoping for that double dip. When they didn't get the double dip, they didn't score to start the third quarter. It was lights out. It was like, all right, who's getting the MVP here? But hats off to Philly. I mean, their defense was so phenomenal. Barkley, Hurts, A.J. Brown, the list is endless. On both sides of the ball, Ron, they showed up in a well-earned Super Bowl.
Yeah. A lot of people said, oh, right away, this is this. I waited till the beginning of the second quarter. As soon as their kicker, Elliott, made that field goal to make it 10-0, then I said he made the first one, the confidence builder. He had missed a couple of extra points in the playoffs and stuff like that. It seemed to me Philly was going to be driving all day. That's when it hit for me. And when you win the Super Bowl, Jeff, the spoils start. I mean, everybody comes going after you and stuff like that. Milton Williams gets a big contract. He's gone. Hassan Reddick is gone. McKay Becton is gone. Not Hassan Reddick. I mean, Josh Sweat is gone. Darius Slay is gone. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is gone. Everybody takes from the Super Bowl champs. So that's why Howie Roseman has been drafting all these Georgia guys over the years to replenish the defense. They lost a lot of bodies. What regression do you think they'll have, or assess what's going on with the Eagles right now?
Exactly what you said. When you are the champs, everyone wants to emulate you, and everyone wants to steal from your cupboard. We got the prize possession, the big name off the board, which shocked us. We paid the most money. We needed them. Then, as you said, Sweat is gone. They're just plucking away from that defense, which we're trying to sweep the leg here, Ron. Everyone's trying to sweep the leg, but Howie is the best at manipulating the cap, making trades. Don't forget on draft day, he made that trade with the Titans to get AJ Brown. So I bet you he'll be active on trade day, on draft day again. Does he want to get out of the AJ Brown contract? He can just call up New England. I mean, Vrabel is the one that drafted him. And so, he could get a swap there and get some draft picks there, but I don't see them doing that. I think they're just going to just keep replenishing SEC, Georgia defense. Their offense is fine. Everyone is paid. Barkley's healthy. Hurts is healthy. They can run it back. The Giants look like to be a mess. The Cowboys look like to be a mess. So their competitor again this year would be Jaden Daniels in Washington.
Yeah, he set himself up. He has some extra draft picks this year. He traded some draft picks recently, but he also has some extra draft picks that he manipulated last year. Most of his picks are in the first 4 or 5 rounds in the draft. I think you will see more trading because just a couple more impact players to help them along as the young players develop. New England did a lot more on the addition side because they had, as we all know, the number one amount of cap space when the salary cap was readjusted. I think it got up to as much as 130 million. And I know teams in that extra cap space, they tend to overpay to make sure they get their guys. But there's probably 10 or 12 names that are new already on New England. Are they splash names? I don't know. You tell me, Jeff. Who do you think will have the biggest impact as far as the newcomers for the New England Patriots? And there are many of them.
I'm going to go down the list because there's so many of them, of course. Defensive tackle Milton Williams obviously is the big prize. That was a big signing. Here's what they did. I think what ended up happening, Ron, is Vrabel got into the building. He checked the roster. The roster is so bad that we need offense and we need defense. Well, they have struck out so many times on wide receivers. Last year, they offered the most money for Calvin Ridley. The year before, they went after someone else. They tried to get a trade with Brandon Ayuk. They tried to get DK Metcalf. They tried to get Cooper Kupp. No one's coming here. They have the 4th pick. So look for a trade, George Pickens. Look for a trade, A.J. Brown. Look for a trade, Brandon Ayuk. And at the 4th pick, you can take Travis Hunter if he's still there, which it sounds like he will be there. You could shock the world and take Tet, or you could move back a couple spots and then see who slides to you. You know my love affair for Tyler Warren from Penn State. So Milton Williams, K'Lavon Chasen, Tonga, Morgan Moses from the Jets. I did like that one. Carlton Davis, cornerback from the Lions. I do like that. You'll have Davis now and Christian Gonzalez. Robert Spillane, offensive linebacker. Harold Landry, edge. I like that from the Titans there. Joshua Dobbs. They're trying to trade Joe Milton for a 3rd rounder. I don't know. I would keep Milton for another year just in case. But Joshua Dobbs. Mac Hollins, the barefoot wonder from the Bears. Marcus Epps, safety. Center, Garrett Bradbury. Linebacker, Jack Gibbons. Most of these, Ron, what do they all have in common? Either Coach Vrabel, Joshua McDaniels, or his other coaches have all worked with these players. So they're bringing in people they know. They're getting rid of the garbage or the people that are no longer with the Patriots. At least they know the guys. They know how they work, what makes them tick, and try to sift them in mostly on the defensive side and then see what they can draft, Ron.
Yeah, Milton Williams, that's going to be an interesting one to me because he was surrounded by talent in Philly. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't when they have to be the guy. He may have been more getting his feet wet because of the other people around him. Not to take anything away from him. He's young and this may work, but a caution, it may not. Some of the other guys, Spillane, heavy duty tackler, Harold Landry, if he can get back to pre-injury form. 2023, he was injured. He came back 2024. They may be getting a good version of Harold Landry. It's a lot of different things. You mentioned a little bit on offensive line. That still worries me, their offensive line. So if the opportunity came to take a wide receiver at 4 or an offensive lineman at 4, and you talked about trading down, which makes sense, but which position makes the most sense for New England?
We talked 2 months ago. The name that week was Mason Graham, Michigan, more on the defensive side. He came in around 20 pounds light on the combine. Then, of course, Will Campbell, left tackle, LSU. His arms are short. And in the last 25 years, only one with his arm size has made an All-Pro or a Pro Bowl. So an alarm bell went up there. The name of the week is Armand Membo, offensive tackle from Missouri. That is the flavor of the week right now. Now, the locals say if Abdul Carter, which he's not going to slide to 4, if Travis Hunter is there, that's where the fan base is. They want the Heisman Trophy. There's your number 1 wide receiver right there, and can play defense if you need him to as well. They need to shore up the left tackle and right tackle. The problem is there's no Sewell, there's no Joe Alt there, so it's a gamble to take Will Campbell there, but it seems like the flavor of the week is Membo from Missouri, and I don't know as much on him. Maybe you do.
Just starting my work on that side of the ball, so can't comment too much there. I'll connect the dots a little bit later. Been concentrating more on the teams and their team needs right now. Shout out real quick to Dan Rivera. Thanks for your comments during the show, and obviously Dan and everybody else who's a student of the draft. This is our time right now when we're talking about these players, how to slot them. You mentioned offensive. It's going to be interesting because there's no clear consensus for offensive line, and maybe because there's so many strength in numbers on defensive line, they can pick and choose. And my philosophy has always been, you never want to be the first to take somebody who's right in the middle of a pile. Maybe if you see some separation, like a Tyler Warren at tight end, you want to be first to tight end, but you don't have to be first for offensive line. But we'll see. What other teams interest you in terms of, wow, this is puzzling, what are they doing? Or we haven't talked enough about this team, they're under the radar good. Are there any teams moving up or down in your research, at least right now? I know it's early.
Well, the fascinating piece, obviously, is the Titans. Does the Giants want to move up from 3 to 1? Do the Raiders want to move up? Now, last year we had 4 quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and then Minnesota jumps up to 4 and takes J.J. McCarthy. So we thought we were done. And then Atlanta and Denver said, hold my beer. Next thing you know, Bo Nix and Michael Penix go. So we had 6 quarterbacks in the first 10 picks. We haven't had that buzz. You're hearing the Jackson Dart name. Now, is he going to get enough buzz to get that move up there? I guess Jalen Milroe looks great, but his short passing is very bad. I don't know who the next names are to move up there. So if the Titans, who have swung and missed oh my goodness, Levis, and then the kid now that's on Green Bay, the kid from Liberty. Willis, they need a quarterback. But if if they're not sold on Cam Ward, the Giants or the Raiders will move up. So you can add some pieces if you're not sold on this quarterback class. And then Cleveland. There's rumblings that they like Shador, but listen, if you can get Myles Garrett on one side and Abdul Carter on the other side, to me, that's a no-brainer. I think you're cooking with Crisco there. So 1 and 2 is the intriguing one. That sets up what happens to Sanders, and then from there, it's a free-for-all. Getting back to the Pats, if you can pull a trade off with a San Francisco and move to 11, then you can let someone else take Campbell. Then there's a Kelvin Banks sitting there. Or is Tyler Warren still there? You have more pieces to maneuver, and you're stockpiling draft picks, as well as you got the 4th pick in the 2nd round. And it's a deep, deep running back class. I am enamored by Omarion Hampton. I think he's the back to get. I know Ashton Genty is going to go first as the running back, then Hampton. Keep an eye with Vrabel and Ohio State Henderson if he decides to go offensive line or defense in his first pick, if Henderson makes it to the 2nd round. Because I think the Patriots will be drafting a running back. Maybe Stevenson's got one more year there. But again, it's a deep, deep class at running back as well. So there are so many moving parts. The difference between last year and this year, you can guarantee you this. There will not be 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first 10 picks.
You have an opinion on Quinn Ewers, the quarterback out of Texas?
Someone with the quarterback that wants to take a dart. I think he showed flashes. Is he a franchise quarterback? No, he's not. The same with the Patriots when they took Joe Milton. I think they could, these guys that are happy with their quarterback but have draft capital that can take a swing, maybe you can draft him and mold him and then try to either use him down the road, or you can maneuver him as a chess piece and trade him to someone that might want to take a swing with Ewers that didn't obviously draft him.
Yeah. Dan's comment about the Ohio State offensive tackle, I do think he may be the best offensive tackle in the group. So it'll be interesting to see any workouts, anything he does between now and draft day. I do think he's a first rounder. The question is, what team's going to take a chance on him? But he was trending pretty high. And I think Dan also had a comment about Dart getting hype. And yeah, I have Dart as my number 3 quarterback right now. I'm scared of Ewers. That's why I asked you about Ewers because it's really, I love the pretty touch pass. I think he's the best touch passer in the draft. The problem is all his throws are touches. So I have not seen him fire it in the tight windows. I've seen him late on throws. I've seen him operate behind a Texas offensive line that gives you a lot of confidence, and the next offensive line he has to operate on may not give him as much confidence. So I'm scared about him, but there are some things he does really well.
He came in to a real tough spot last year. Texas was picked to finish high. They did play well. Ewers got hurt. You knew Manning was right over your shoulder. He had weapons. Golden, a lot of people in our lanes, Ron, really like Golden as a wide receiver this year out of Texas. Pro style offense, great head coach for him. So he was set to succeed. Now between the injuries, Arch, the O-line, the running game was nowhere to be found late in the year and in the playoffs. So it kind of crumbled. Again, I don't think someone's going to run to the window, but I'll say it this way. I got more confidence in Ewers and drafting Ewers than someone with Dart, because I think Dart is a dart throw. I don't see the consistency there. I thought Levis actually showed more flashes than actually Dart did in a run and gun. Lane Kiffin, I mean, this team, he just stood back there and chuck. I don't think he's NFL ready right now, Ron.
Yeah, too early to tell, but I'm going to, let's see, Tennessee's 1. So if they draft a quarterback, then we're done. Cam Ward is in. Levis is possibly going to be traded, and so on and so forth. If Cleveland drafts Carter, that leaves Sanders still on the board. Your opinions of Colorado's Sanders and where his best fit is and who might, I mean, I've seen him, not necessarily reliable sources, because I use under the radar sources for my draft analysis, but I've seen him anywhere from 3 to 25 or something like that, or even 30. What's your assessment of where Sanders might end up and your opinion of him?
I'm not as high on Sanders as a lot of people. I respect the name, I respect the talent, but if you go back and look at the tape, I'm not saying it was high school ball, but go back to Caleb Williams when he won the Heisman, and then take a look at Caleb Williams the next year. It was more nothing open. I'm going to go run to the left. I'm going to go run to the right. Oh, by the way, someone's now open 50 yards down the road. If you look at Sanders, he does a lot of that. Nothing open, pocket collapse, and I'm going to run around. We know the NFL is too fast. You can't do that. So if he slides to 3, the Giants have a decision. And I don't know. I think the smart move for them is to pass. And I'll say it this way. I don't think he gets past the Raiders run at 6. I don't. I think they got their stopgap with Geno. The thought of Tom Brady and Shador Sanders, and the fact now you can connect Deion Sanders at some point, maybe somewhere down the line. I think the Raiders, Sin City, the flash, the flare, I don't think he gets past the Raiders if he's still on the board after the Giants.
Makes sense to me. Let's talk about the Giants real quickly. What do you think they'll do? What would you do if you were the New York Giant GM?
I'd cry.
I mean, they're in a tough spot because their jobs are on the line.
So we'll play the draft here. You Cam Ward goes 1. We'll say Abdul Carter goes 2, and you're not in love, obviously, with Sanders. You got to sell that pick and sell it fast. Who's in love with Sanders? Is it the Raiders? You get on the phone with them. Hey, we're going to take Sanders right here. What is it worth to you? So I'm going to move back there. I am, because I'm not going to. I mean, I guess you could say out loud, I got my Malik Neighbors to the left. Do you want Travis Hunter to the right? There's our 2 1 and 2 wide receivers there. You could look at it that way if you wanted to. Now you still need a quarterback, and Eli Manning's not walking through that door. So you're in a tough spot. If you're not sold on Sanders, I don't think they take Travis Hunter to go on the other side of Malik Neighbors. I think they're on the phone selling the pick to whoever wants Shador Sanders there, Ron.
Now, of all the places that need quarterbacks, I mean, Cleveland may still need a quarterback. Tennessee may need a quarterback, the Raiders and so on. To me, the quarterback who goes to the Giants is going to have the toughest road because they haven't fixed their offensive line yet. They maybe have a running back now in Tracy, but we don't know that for sure. They're kind of in limbo, in my opinion, with complementary tight end, and these new quarterbacks need tight ends. It's a tough sell to go to the New York Giants right now, knowing that you may have a new coach and GM if it doesn't work out in a year.
Yeah, and now the Browns, we don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. It's just, if they get antsy and they decide that Shador is their guy, then the Giants, as soon as Cleveland announced Shador Sanders, Giants can just pick up the phone. Abdul Carter, whoever gets Abdul Carter is the no-brainer. So if it goes Ward and Sanders, there's no reason to take 8 minutes in between picks there, Mr. Goodell. Just call out. You don't even need a card. Just call out Abdul Carter to the Giants, and then we can get the Patriots on the board.
We talk a lot about quarterbacks, but you've mentioned one name that I think is not mentioned enough for the casual draft fan, and that's Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. Do you think he gets out of the top 10? I mean, a lot of people don't think he'll be in the top 10. They think he'll be with the Indianapolis Colts around the 14th pick, I think. And obviously, he'd be a great fit for the Colts. We saw Brock Bowers. We didn't know where Brock Bowers would go. I had no idea. I knew he was a top 10 type of talent, but I couldn't find a team for him. And out of the blue, it became the Raiders, who already had drafted a tight end, but it turned out fantastic. Based on his success, where does Tyler Warren, how far can Tyler Warren even slip?
Well, Cincinnati Bengals were sleeping at the wheel because that was their guy. And then I think what happened was they didn't think the Raiders, who had drafted Mayer the year before, were going to get in on Warren. So they were sleeping at the wheel right there because Tyler Warren, because Brock Bowers. Can you imagine Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Brock Bowers? I mean, I know they have no defense, but the first one to 60 wins, and I'd bet on Joe Burrow all the time there. But getting to Warren, he makes too much sense for the Patriots. Trade out of 4 to that 8-9 spot and just draft Warren. Just do it. It's not going to happen, though. I know the Colts and Mr. Saylor that's his guy. The name that I'm hearing, the team, and I don't know where I'm drawing a blank. Where is Denver drafted? Because that's Sean Payton's guy.
Yeah, Denver is in the 20 range, I think. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. But they would have to move up. Although Sean Payton loves to move up in the draft, so I wouldn't put it past them. And they just picked up a tight end, though. So,
yeah, well, let me see here. 11.
They picked up Ingram, I believe. Yeah, check out where Denver is. But I think because they made the playoffs, they're probably around 21-ish.
Bengals 17, 18, 19. They are 20th. And guess what? This mock draft that I'm looking at right here has Tyler Warren sliding to 20. And I didn't even go that far. I had it up for the Patriots. They have Tyler Warren at 20. Well, I will tell you this. Sean Payton will be real antsy if he gets to 10, 11, 12, 13. He'll make a move up, but that is his guy right there. So they're going to have to get in front of the Colts and try to steal him from the Colts because he won't go past the Colts.
Let me quickly look at what I have them. Yeah, I mean, they could go in a number of different directions, to be honest, but Payton will probably fall in love with somebody and they will go ahead and take that particular person. This, by the way, I feel is a very strong tight end draft. While Warren stands out, there's another 6 or 7 that should be day 2 picks in this draft. So you can get a tight end. And if teams sleep on getting a tight end, then they don't understand today's NFL, in my opinion. Let's do one more before, because I'm keeping you a little long here. Trent Baalke is out of the building in Jacksonville. So I don't know where I'm going to get my humor this year because he's out of the building. So what's on the plate for Jacksonville now that they have a real GM or the potential of a real GM?
Well, we talked about Sam Darnold in Seattle getting in there, and he's like, "Where's all my weapons?" The same thing in Jacksonville, right? Christian Kirk, Ingram. I know Brian Thomas is a stud, but who else do they have now? They don't. They got Brian Thomas and a cloud of dust, and now in comes Trevor Lawrence back. We saw Mac Jones for the rest of the year. They need help in offense, but they also need help in defense, Ron. So it'd be real interesting because you've talked at length about the prior GM and how he really screwed this team up because they had talent. I mean, they had Calvin Ridley. They let him go. They had Christian Kirk, Ingram. They're gone. They know they have a star with Brian Thomas. They hope Trevor Lawrence can refire, but from there, a new head coach. It's going to be interesting, but they've taken all the weapons away. So they must have a master game plan like the Houston does.
Yeah, they're going to need a master game plan. It's easy to make a first-round pick, relatively easy if it's a non-quarterback, and Jacksonville hasn't done poorly at all in the first round. Unfortunately, there are 7 rounds to the draft, and they botched rounds 2 through 7 all the way through. So I'd shore up that offensive line. I'd absolutely look for a tight end. There's a number of ways that they could go. I'm really, if people ask me what are the teams that I'm going to be most curious about on draft day, Jacksonville's going to be one of them, to see if they can do what Washington did, not necessarily become a playoff team and change the culture or whatever, but just get better players, just have a better focus in terms of how they grade people out of the draft, 22-year-olds.
And you had asked me about one team that I'm intrigued in, and I want to see them because they were getting old. They have been on a fire sale. I want to keep my eyes on the 49ers run. I want to see what they do because, again, Debo has left the building. They got the Ayuk contract. They got Ricky Pearsall. They got Jennings. Another year with McCaffrey. They got to play Brock Purdy. Defensively getting old. Offensive line is getting old. What does the 49ers do during the draft? Do they become, again, the beast of the West? We know the Rams defense is going to be the defense to beat, I think, in the NFC this year. Seattle maybe takes a step back with Darnold. Arizona's always the wild card. Great start, can't finish. So the 49ers is that one team, Ron, I'll be really keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I understand that it's not going to be a cakewalk like it used to be in the NFC West. The other teams have improved over the last few years. They've drafted well. The Rams the last 2 years, Seattle 2 of the last 3 years have had top 5 drafts, and Arizona had something like 11 picks last year. So the question, I agree with you, the 49ers slipped due to a variety of reasons last year. How, was that a blimp? Or are they better? Can they recoup? Can they get back up there? But it's going to be tougher because their competition is tougher. So that's going to be interesting.
I
Closing thought for you. I mean, your 7-yard button hook. Where do you want to take this as we close up?
Well, first and foremost, I can't thank you enough. As you know, our show's on Thursday or Friday afternoon. We could talk for hours, and your wife is a saint because I keep you overtime every show. So this year's draft, I really think it begins at pick 4. And of course, that's the closest that I am with the New England Patriots. They need a left tackle. Well, I don't see them taking Campbell there. Is Travis Hunter there? Do they take the kid from Missouri, or I think they trade back? So the draft starts where Sanders goes, and of course what the Patriots do at 4. And if I'm New England, I'm not going to take Travis Hunter. I'm going to trade back. I might make a move with let's say, the 49ers at 11. And I will start the New England Patriots with Tyler Warren. I will go there. Sorry, Mr. Sailor. Sorry, Sean Payton. Patriots trade back to 11. I let the 49ers come up and take whoever they want, unless Abdul Carter's there, of course, which he won't be. And the New England Patriots at 11 take Tyler Warren.
Okay. Well, that would be something. That would be a lot of fun on draft day. And we're just getting started with the draft. I can tell you that there's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of free agency talk. I have episode 4 on Wednesday is going to be just 2 days from now, Brady Cannon. So we will talk more free agency, more of his journey. I have a few more questions for him and more West Coast questions for him as we cover the East Coast a lot with you, Jeff. Where can people find you? Because you're busy in all sports.
On Twitter or X at EC Sports Invest. We have a website at eastcoastsportsinvestors.com. We're on Monday through Friday in the mornings with the Breakfast Bankroll. Brady Cannon on Wednesdays talking PGA. On Thursdays, Lou Finicaro talking UFC. We have Tuesday and Friday mornings with the NCAA Insiders now talking college baseball. And of course, Andrew McGinnis coming on from Wager Talk, talking some NHL. So we're in March Madness. We're getting ready for first pitch MLB on Thursday. And then, of course, NHL and NBA playoffs around the corner. And of course, Ron, every Thursday or Friday at 5 p.m., East Coast, 2 p.m. West Coast, talking some college and NFL with you, Ron.
Well, definitely follow Jeff. He's a man of all sports, and you got a great lineup. I know you have some great guests. You've had Paul Stone. You've had some of the others. Putting in the college baseball was nice. So really appreciate that. Quickly to answer a question from Dan on what about the 49ers GM? I think he's a very average GM, to be honest. They like to build from the inside out. You see them with a lot of good offensive line picks and defensive line picks. Beyond that, they've struck out a few times. I think he gets good draft value, but I'm not crazy about the overall product is a C plus from the San Francisco 49ers GM. That's my opinion. Anyway, thanks again, Jeff, for being here for this. I'll be back Wednesday with Brady Cannon. This is episode 3, concluding of the Fireside Football Chat. Just a little off-season chat to keep our feet wet into football. Hope you enjoy the series and see you in about 48 hours.